Yo, it's your boy Logos. And today I want to react to the Critical Drinker and talk about Snow White, the new woke Disney movie that I expect to follow in the lead of The Little Mermaid. And the reason that I say that is because the little I know about the movie tells me that the dwarfs aren't really dwarfs anymore. A perfect opportunity to have diversity in a way that makes sense for the overall story is pushed aside to have a different type of diversity. You could have hired actual people with dwarfism or that actually short enough to be, I guess, fit in within the role of dwarfs. But instead, you decide to get different people of different backgrounds that aren't dwarfs or short at all. And the whole point is, if you talk about diversity so much, you have a natural, easy way to do so and to help a population that probably doesn't get as much acting work as they should or as they could compared to other people, and you don't do that. You just keep going on with the BS. And I also understand that I think Snow White isn't caring about having a true love or getting married or living happy ever after or any other stuff in the fairy tale. I don't understand why they love to change and switch up old school fairy tales and old school movies that are good, loved, and classics. To twist it for a modern audience with the whole political message, social message, anything and everything I don't really care about when I'm watching these type of movies. Stuff that I don't think you should be preaching to kids. You're not their parents. You should just focus on entertainment. That's just how I see it. The government and public businesses that want your money at the same time as talking down to you is the biggest load of BS I've ever seen. Okay, that's a lie. Not the biggest, but you know what I mean. And that's partially part of the reason why there's a writer's strike. Disney is losing what, 900 million or a whole bunch of money over the past what, 9 or 10 movies. It's their own fault. I don't follow Marvel like I used to because it's mostly BS. I could go on about it, but let's just watch this. I think we already know what it's gonna be.
You know, sometimes in life you just can't catch a break, and it seems like everything you do to try to fix the situation only ends up pushing things from bad to worse to catastrophic. Like, I once saw a drunk guy stagger out of a late night takeaway with a kebab in hand, only to lose his grip on his prized lump of artery clogging saturated meat and fumble to catch it before it fell to the ground, causing him to lose his balance and stumble face first into a plate glass window. And thinking about that poor unfortunate drunken soul who had to retreat home with no food, a bloody nose, bruised ego, and the mocking laughter of me and my friends ringing in his ears, I'm reminded of Snow White actress Rachel Zegler, who seems to be single-handedly tanking the box office prospects of her multi-million-dollar movie, to the point where even industry experts are warning that she's rapidly turning into box office poison. See, one of the weird little
Oh, so they finally learned from Brie Larson when she was doing all that stuff with Captain Marvel and subsequent actors and actresses over the past what 5 or so years, who has been talking down on fans and talking trash and coming up with the woke stuff, and people not going to see the movies as much. They're finally starting to get it. Not the actual people doing it, but the people that monitor this industry.
side effects of the current Hollywood strikes is that there's not a whole lot of news and controversy coming out of Tinseltown right now, which has given the internet a bit more time to reflect on other things, like past interviews on the subject of Snow White that were largely ignored at the time, but have soon come back to haunt Disney and Rachel in recent weeks. And holy shit, have they provided fertile ground for backlash and mockery.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. I just mean that it's no longer 1937 and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. Reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power. I'm gonna stay.
They don't learn. Listen, it's not like we want women to just stay at home, wash dishes, and cook all the time and be miserable. But it's the whole thing about pushing this type of stuff in your movies, where clearly the audience has shown you we don't care about whatever message you think is important. You women are able to be on screen, be on camera, and make millions of dollars. I don't need you to try to teach a lesson or talk down to me about women can do all this, that, and the other now. Of course, women can. Not every woman nor every man is capable of every single thing. Actually, if we're gonna be honest, not every man nor is every woman a leader. And depending on their role and their act and how they do stuff in life and their personality, they're not gonna be a leader at all, regardless of your gender or anything else. I'm just so over this thing.
Saying there are 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
But it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows?
Shite.
It's almost like she has a disdain, like in her attitude. She got like this anger or this loathing or something. Just the way she talks. It's just like Brie Larson. Like, you're supposed to be a princess. And what's next? Who are you to tell me that princesses are supposed to be nice and kind and charming and not have a mean attitude all the time? Well, I would say that to any person. But even still, you being a princess and that supposed to carry some type of, dignity, honor, class. You don't exude any of it. Like you act like you're trying to get into a fight with somebody if they disagree with you when you saying nothing but BS in the first place.
Shite. 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 Oh, yes. That's shite.
No offense, Rachel, but you're making it pretty tough for people to like you. Now, I don't pretend to know what exactly was going on in her head when she said stuff like this. Maybe she was just a bit nervous and overwhelmed by all the attention and didn't know how to respond with the kind of slick, blandly diplomatic answers that a more experienced celebrity might have given. Maybe it's because she's young and idealistic and just blurted out the first thing that came into her head about the movie and the character. And so I don't really want to dump on her too much for all this controversy. Yeah, she's definitely creating the impression of a spoiled, entitled, narcissistic actor who totally doesn't appreciate the amazing opportunity she's been given. Yeah, her comments on the actors' strike were pretty poorly judged for someone getting paid more from one movie than most actors make in their entire lives. And yeah, the things she's saying about Snow White make it seem like the very antithesis of the animated classic that stood the test of time a lot better than her own movie's likely to. But really, when you get right down to it, she's just another dumb actor saying what she thinks people want to hear. The bigger problem is the studio culture that someone like Zegler represents, because you can bet your left arse cheek that most of these talking points were handed to her directly by the PR people at Disney. Yeah, she might not have phrased them in the most elegant way, but the sentiment they represent is dead on brand for a company that's become the studio equivalent of a snake eating its own tail, desperately cannibalizing their back catalogue of classic movies in an increasingly futile attempt to stay relevant. See, when it comes to their other live-action remakes of animated movies, they were generally smart enough to stay pretty quiet about the little changes they were sneaking in for modern audiences. Yeah, sometimes actors and writers would slip up and say a bit more than they were supposed to, and things got a bit more overt with Peter Pan and The Little Mermaid.
That was fun.
But for the most part, they were content to pay tribute to the originals and market the remakes as respectful adaptations. Right from the off though, they seem to have taken a very different approach with Snow White. It feels like they're making a concerted effort to cast the original movie as some horribly dated relic of a bygone era that we're all supposed to look back on and laugh at with the benefit of our modern enlightened hindsight. Rachel.
Well, at the same time, wanting us to come and see the movie in the first place because it is a classic, because it's such widely known, they're banking on that. Not because people actually have a craving for princess movies, not because they have a craving or outcry for princesses that are actually warriors, whatever the hell this lady claims that Snow White gonna be in her version. It's so crazy to me. The same way they talk down to the audiences, they talk down on the same films and the same writers that create the originals that they have to base their remake on to begin with. Like it is disrespectful if you ask me. Because if it wasn't for the classic Snow White, her dumbass wouldn't even get a damn role, and she'd be out there with other writers and actresses and actors on a strike and crying about the money and stuff like that. Like it is so privileged. Her talking about I deserve to get paid all this and the other for every single damn minute that is streamed. because you're sitting like in a dress. If anybody, I would give it more to like Tom Cruise. He does stunts. He put his actual body on the line with all the stuff he does. He doesn't use stunt doubles as much as other people do. Or someone like Keanu Reeves. Someone that is actually, honorable, respectful. He doesn't got a big old head. He doesn't feel entitled. Not like this lady. I'm gonna be nice. This lady. It just absolute joke to me. I hate these Hollywood types.
Rachel certainly doesn't think much of it, and neither does Gal Gadot if their interviews are anything to go by. And ironically, there's something weirdly outdated now about turning the main character into this fanatically independent, power-hungry girl boss who doesn't need a man. It's the kind of talking points that were all the rage 5 or 6 years ago, when this whole movement in Hollywood was still in its infancy, but that was then and this is now. The strong female lead isn't the fresh new concept it was back in 2016. In fact, even in the mainstream media, there's a growing acceptance that this kind of bland, superficial archetype has run its course, to the point where it's become kind of a meme in its own right. Either way though, I can't help wondering, is this really the attitude you want to display towards one of the most beloved animated movies of all time? The one that literally made Disney what it is today? Do you really want to be seen shitting on the accomplishments of previous generations when your own efforts are probably never going to reach the same heights of cultural influence? Because at a certain point, it really just comes across as a jealous, envious attempt to drag down other people's work rather than elevating your own. As Mahler so aptly put it in one of his videos, this isn't a passing of the torch, it's a torching of the past. It's a deliberate attempt to rewrite history and destroy the legacy of the thing you're so desperate to supplant, while conveniently forgetting that there's a reason movies like Snow White have been enjoyed by generations of audiences. The stories they told are timeless and universal, instead of trying to catch the ever-changing winds of the political and social zeitgeist.
Exactly.
They weren't written for modern audiences, they were written for every audience from the 1930s to the 2020s, and that's precisely why they worked so well. And as much as you and your friends might look down on them and mock them for not aligning with whatever fads and trends happen to be the current thing, the inconvenient truth is that they'll still be remembered long after your own lesser efforts have been forgotten. You are but a passing ripple in the pond of history, whereas they are history. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
I agree with everything that he said. And these people from Hollywood and like this actress, they don't really make it hard for me to, disagree with him. I don't understand how you could try to trash a classic, which is why the reason you're employed in the first place. Saying that who cares, or I guess you'll find out whenever if she falls in love, as if that's something so minor, when that's actually like one of the main plots of the overall story from my memory. If you want to make your own story about being a girl boss and doing all this stuff where you don't need a man and women can be the lead, that's perfectly fine. But I don't understand why you need to change and twist and distort. I wouldn't say distort because the classic will always be there, but just warp a classic film for your own political purposes once again. And she's just so open and brazen about it. And she thinks she's talking some really smart, intellectual, cash money ish, but she's not. This is another reason why I don't feel bad about these writers and this strike going on, because what she only really said the plot of the story. She didn't write the plot. The writers did. Disney did. Disney had a hand in all of this. Of course, they employed these people. They're not just gonna. It's funny. I'm about to say not just gonna have them write up anything because they try to make money on it, but they literally just write up any BS that they think is good for a political message and still end up losing money. So either way, you can just clearly see their priority isn't actually entertaining you. Their priority isn't actually being in business and going after your interest to get money from you, as they should. The interest is actually putting stuff out that they say you should want. This is how you should think, and you motherfuckers better give me my damn money for making it for you. I don't care how you feel about it. I don't care how you like it. I don't care if you disagree with it. Show up, give me your money, agree, or you're a sexist, misogynist, insert other BS insult here. Like, come on. How much money are you going to lose until you finally get it through your freaking head? And why do you keep employing actresses and actors that just keep talking nothing but nonsense and putting out bad messages for your movies? Get it? Before, people would get fired for stuff like this, or people will get replaced, or they'll just be, you know, plain up smart enough to not say something so stupid. But nowadays, they just can talk and say whatever and think they're so justified there'll be no consequences. I look forward to the day this movie come out so we can see how much money it'll lose. Honestly, I haven't seen like any of these live action films, at least in theater. I can't actually remember. The only one I might have seen is Lion King, but I don't even think I saw that in theaters because I saw that like 6 months later. Disney seems to really not care about their movies being entertaining anymore. It's sad. The best thing they did come out was Spider-Man No Way Home, and that was mostly because of nostalgia, not because of the story being something super crazy incredible. It was just nostalgia and some really good villains. The writing was good because it didn't focus on a political message, but it wasn't Endgame. It wasn't Infinity War. It wasn't Winter Soldier. It was none of those things. It wasn't Iron Man 1. Like, come on, this is... I don't know what they're doing now. I truly don't know what to tell you. I don't work for Disney, and I never will want to. Unless I had the power to change up the BS they're doing. But this, being so brazen about not having Snow White falling in love, she's so open and happy about switching up the story for her own viewpoint in a modern audience. Talking about it's the 1935s. Like, come on. Like, you want to talk about it's old and dated, but you have no problem at all preying on its name and preying on its notoriety for your own purposes. He's full of shit. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. It's your boy Logos. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.